I make these Christmas cookies every year and they are so good. Hi, welcome back, or welcome if you're new. My name is Chelsea, and today we're going to talk about the 26 books I want to read in 2026. I have a doggy friend with me today. Yeah, he's a good boy. He's a good boy. Come here. Come see. Come on. Come on. Good boy. Say hi, bear. You say hi? Yeah, you say hi? First up, we have The First Binding by R.R. Verdi. I have had this book for years, like since it first came out. It's told from like a guy recounting his story, which at the time it came out, Empire the Vampire, I think, came out around the same time or just before it, and I had really liked the way that was told, so I thought this would be really good. I mean, the cover is so pretty, and I just haven't gotten to it. So this says, all legends are born of truths and just as much lies. These are mine. Judge me for what you will, but you will hear my story first. I buried the village of Ampere under a mountain of ice and snow. Really? Under a mountain of ice and snow. Then I killed their god. I've stolen old magics and been cursed for it. I started a war with those who walked before mankind and lost the princess I loved and wanted to save. I've called lightning and bound fire. I am legend and I am a monster. My name is Aerie, and this is the story of how I let loose the first evil. Sounds pretty epic to me. Second, we have When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. Everybody's loved this that's read it. I mean, it's an autographed copy. Pretty edges. And I just want to be part of the group. Want to know what the deal is. And I like a good, like dragons. Like good dragon story. As an assassin for the rebel group Fear Du Ath, Rave's job is to complete orders and never get caught. When a rival bounty hunter turns her world upside down, blood spills, hearts break, and Rave finds herself imprisoned by the Guild of Nobles, a group of powerful fae who turn her into a political statement. Crushed by the loss of his great love, Khan Vagor took the head of a king and donned his melted crown. Now, on a tireless quest to quell the never-ebbing ache in his chest, a clue lures him into the capital's high-security prison where he stumbles upon the imprisoned Rave. Echoes of the past race between them. There's more to their story than meets the eye, but some truths are too poisonous to swallow. I don't know. Everybody's raving about it. It's gotta be good, right? Next we have books 1, 2, and 3 of the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. I've heard nothing but good things about this trilogy. It's astounding, amazing. These novels are a gift to the whole of our culture. Little blurbs on the back. This is just a taking recommendations from everybody else read. Plus, I gotta get them off my physical TBR. Next, we have Brimstone by Callie Hart. This is the sequel to Quicksilver. I liked Quicksilver. I did find the relationship between our two main characters a little difficult. He was so mean, which I don't think normally bothers me unless I've never read a love interest that was that mean. But it kind of bothered me. I think I'm going to have to reread it before I read this, or at least look up a synopsis, because I don't remember all that much that happened. And I'm really looking forward to reading this. I just might have to refresh my memory first. Next, we have Furybound by Sable Sorensen. This is the second book in the Wolves of Ruin series. I really liked Direbound. It was fun, The piece about her sister going missing, I don't know, I felt like it had a lot going on because she's trying to figure out what happens to her sister, and she's bound to this dire wolf, which she doesn't want to be, and she's also got this will they, won't they with our male main character, and she's basically getting through by the skin of her teeth. And then what happens at the end, I think kind of came out of left field for me. I'm not really sure I understand why that was happening. And I may also need to reread this before I read Fury Bound, because I don't know, I guess I wasn't retaining anything this past year. But I'm really looking forward to the sequel. I think it's going to be really good. And I can't wait. Next we have the entire Stormlight Archive. I've been working my way up to the Stormlight Archive. I'm trying to read the Cosmere in a specific order. So I still have a few more books to read before I can get to these. Brandon Sanderson has really interesting magic systems and interesting plots. I have not found his characters. My cat is going crazy, sorry. I have not found any of his characters to be particularly compelling. I just don't connect with them. So I can get through a book, even if I don't connect to the characters, if it's interesting. But I do prefer to like the characters, or to at least find them compelling in some way. So if I don't like the Stormlight Archive, which is arguably, according to everybody else's, best works, if I don't like those, I'm probably not going to continue reading any more Brandon Sanderson, even though I have read a number of his books. I read the entire Mistborn trilogy. I've read Warbreaker. I've read a lot of his short stories in the Arcanum Unbounded. I've read Trust of the Emerald Sea. And Trust of the Emerald Sea is really the only one I would say I loved, which feels kind of... I take that back. I also really liked Elantris. But otherwise, they've just been okay. And I think I'm kind of in the minority on that. Most everybody seems to like the Mistborn trilogy, and it just didn't do anything for me. And if you've read it and you know what happens at the end, I was just like, oh, okay, that's fine. And other people would have been really upset about it. So I just don't seem to connect with the way he writes his characters. But I want to try the Stormlight Archive because everybody says it's the best of his works. So hopefully I can get the books I need to read before I get to the Stormlight Archive, and then try the Stormlight Archive. I do need to work on DNFing, because those are some really big books, and if I read all 4 of them and I'm like, these were not that good, I'm gonna be a little upset. So hopefully by the time I get to The Way of Kings, I can teach myself to DNF. I just don't like doing it. I don't know why. It's really hard for me to DNF a book. It's very hard for me to DNF a series. But if I'm not liking the Stormlight Archive, I need to walk away. Next we have The Grey Bastards by Jonathan French. I picked this up because I went to one of Jay Kristoff's book tour events, and this was the author that was interviewing him for the Q&A portion. And when I was in college, I actually went to another book tour event, which is the only other one I've ever been to. And I cannot remember who I went to see, but one of the authors that was there, I bought her book and I read it, and I still have it on my shelves. So just because something's not super popular doesn't mean it's not good, or it's not going to connect with you in some way, or you're not going to connect with it in some way. So I figured I would grab his book, give it a shot, got it signed while I was there. And I just don't want this to sit on my shelves for forever and never pick it up. So next year, must read. Next we have The Bone Raiders by Jackson Ford. This was my first epic fantasy book from the Fairy Loot Epic Fantasy subscription box. So I would really like to try reading that, and then I already have the second one as well, just to see if I like their picks. I used to have the Fairy Loot Young Adult, and then at some point those just kind of stopped working for me. So I had the adult, the Fairy Loot Adult, and more of those stopped working for me. So I'm hoping the Epic subscription will work, and it helps that there's only 4 a year, I think. So, but I really want to try that. The cover, the Fairy Loot cover is awesome. It looks like it's going to be a very unique read. There's some sort of like lizard dinosaur thing that they're riding, and it's just totally different than the original cover too. It just gives you a totally different vibe. So I'm really looking forward to that one. I want to pick it up soon. I'm not going to read my Fairy Loot copy, so I have to wait for it from the library or pick up a regular copy or something. But that is definitely on my list. Next is The Atlas Complex by Livy Blake. I'm like a third of the way through this book, and I just have not picked it back up. I was borrowing it so that I wouldn't have to physically read my special edition, and it had to go back before I had gotten through it, and so I just gotta pick it back up and finish that off. The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. This is another book that I just want to read because everybody else has really liked it. I have a Fairy Loot copy, so it is on my physical TBR, and I want to get through that more, and I want to figure out what everybody loves about it so much, and then also read the sequel when that comes out. So I'd like to read it before the sequel comes out next year. Next we have Red God, which is Red Rising number 7 by Pierce Brown. I still have to read Red Rising number 6, but hopefully I can just get that done and then do 7 as soon as it's ready. I love the Red Rising series. It's one of my favorite series of all time, and I don't read a lot of sci-fi, but there are some that I have read that I just really, really liked. I love The Expanse and Red Rising a lot. So I'm really looking forward to that. Hopefully it doesn't get delayed again, because this was actually, it was only supposed to be 6 books, and then I guess it was just too long and he had to cut it up. So there's 7 now, and hopefully it comes out when it's supposed to. Next is Dawn of Chaos and Fury by Melissa K. Rorick. This is just to finish off that series. Legacy series is what it's called. That's right. This is not my favorite of hers. I like Lady of Darkness better, but I want to finish it off. I don't really DNF series. I like to know what happened, what the end conclusion is. So obviously that's already come out, I believe, but I'm just not going to get to it before the end of the year. So that is for 2026. Number 18, we're on 18 now. Number 18 is Alchemized by Sue Lynn Tan. This is another one that's just, everybody seems to really love it. I have a physical copy from Fairy Loot, so it's on my physical TBR, and I'd like to get to it while it's still, I still have like the interest because everybody else really loved it. If I wait, it'll just languish on the physical TBR for forever. And it's a chunky book. It's so chunky. Next is Heavenly Bodies by Imani Ariu. This is another one that everybody's just talking about. Everybody's loving. I want to get on the bandwagon, see if it's good, especially before the second one comes out. Or did the second one already come out? It either already came out or is about to come out, but it's not like it's a 10-book series that I have to catch up on. So we'd really love to read that in 2026. Next is The Library of Amerlin by Callan Joffson. I don't know. This is a cover by. Has a super beautiful cover. The first printings, I think it's just the first printings, have really pretty sprayed edges. And I'm just, every once in a while you gotta buy a book because the cover's pretty. This says, former con artist Kasira expected to spend her life as a soldier, miserably working off her prison sentence by hunting down magical creatures for the fanatical kingdom of Kalthos. But when the Kalish ambassador arrives with a non-negotiable assignment, Kasira finds herself swept into the biggest con of her life, infiltrating the library of Amorlin. As the heart of all magic and the protector of magical creatures throughout the Six Kingdoms, the library is historically, politically neutral. Kasira is meant to pose as the new assistant to spy for the ambassador and destabilize the library from the inside, clearing the way to dethrone its librarian. But when she arrives, Kasira learns that the library is not all she was told it would be. Neither is the prickly, handsome librarian Alistair, whose own monstrous secrets are about to catch up with him. Swept into the enchanting world of the library, Kasira's reluctant con is jeopardized by her growing affection for the wondrous life the library promises, and by her complicated, burgeoning attraction to Alistair. As the ambassador's game closes in, Kasira must decide where her loyalties lie, to her newfound home or to her own survival. It actually sounds really good. I hadn't read the description before. Like I said, cover by. But I'm really looking forward to this one. It's actually way more interesting than I was expecting, and the cover is gorgeous. Next we have Silver Elite by Danny Francis. This is another one that everybody just seems to really be loving, and there will be a sequel coming out next year, so I want to read it in time for the sequel. It's romantasy, I believe. So there's some psychic gifts, there's trust no one, lie to everyone, and whatever you do, don't fall for your greatest enemy, apparently. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm not going to read the description because everybody's reading this. It's all over BookTube, but I'm really looking forward to that. And I really want to read it before the sequel comes out. Next we have What Fury Brings by Trisha Levenseller. Trisha Levenseller is an auto-read author for me. I have liked everything she's written. I think everything I've read is YA, and they're easy, fun reads. The first one I read was Blade of Secrets, where the main character has a lot of social anxiety, which I can really relate to, and that was refreshing. She's a blacksmith, and then there was a sequel to that one. I've also read a couple of her other books, and I've liked every single one. They're not like all-time favorite books, but they're books I would recommend to almost anyone. And they're easy, and they're fun, and they're not as long as other fantasy books. And look how pretty. This is the Fairy Loot copy. And her books are just a good time. So I don't know if I've read all of her books. I'll have to check on that, but every time she comes out with a book, I read it. Sometimes her books are a little ridiculous, like The Shadows Between Us, but it's fun. And nothing wrong with something that's a little crazy, because at least that's entertaining. Next we have Catabasis by R.F. Kuang. Again, another one that has been pretty popular. I really liked the Poppy War trilogy, and then I read, oh gosh, what was that book? Clearly I didn't love it that much because I can't even remember what the book was. I read Babel, and I liked it, but I didn't love it. I do think I like the Poppy War trilogy more, even though it's maybe not as well written. Like, she definitely grew as an author between the Poppy War and Babel, but Babel is not very fantastical. I don't even know that you could really call it a fantasy book exactly. It's just very light fantasy. So the Poppy War was more up my alley. But I didn't dislike Babel, so I want to give Catabasis a try. I know it sounds like it leans a little bit more towards Babel in the way it's written. Okay, so I have actually started Catabasis. I just didn't finish it before I had to go back to the library. So let me see. I can't remember how far into that I am, but it's pretty good so far. Again, not very fantastical besides the fact that they're traveling in the underworld. So we'll see. If I don't love this one, I might not pick any more R.F. Kuang up, just because I haven't loved, at that point I wouldn't have loved the last 2 books I read. And while I like The Poppy War, I don't know that it's something I would ever reread, so I couldn't call it like an all-time favorite. Alright, next is The Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wong. I have been wanting to read this book for so long. I hear such great things. One of the main characters is a mom, which I just don't see a lot of, and it's refreshing, and I've heard it's amazing. So I really want to read that. I do not own a physical copy of that book. I will probably buy one just to read it. It feels like a book I need to just physically read it. I've mentioned before that audiobooks can be very hit or miss for me. I'm way less likely to love a book if I listen to it on audio. And ebooks I have been avoiding because I end up on my phone a lot and I get pulled out of it and distracted and scrolling or doing something else. So I definitely think I'll be purchasing a physical copy to read that. Next we have Dragon Rider by Taryn Matheru. This I had picked out because I really liked the UK cover, which is actually very unusual for me. I tend to prefer American covers, but I really like the cover. Now the second book's already out, and I would really like to catch up before more books come out. This is the Soulbound Saga, and it says, discover a rich world of magic, warriors, and dragons in which a fearless orphan and an ambitious handmaiden flee from the empire that would imprison them. With a dream to return to their homelands and a determination that's unbreakable, can an orphan captive learn the secrets of the Dragon Riders to stand up and avenge his people? Jai lives as a royal hostage in the Sabine court ever since his father, Rowan, leader of the Steppe folk, led a failed rebellion and was executed by the very emperor Jai now serves. When the emperor's son and heir is betrothed to Princess Erica of the neighboring Dansk kingdom, she brings with her a dowry, dragons. Endemic to the northern nation, these powerful beasts come in several forms, but mystery surrounds them. Only Dansk royalty know the secret to soul bonding with these dangerous beasts to draw on their power and strength. This marriage and the alliance that forms will change that forever, but conspirators lurk in the shadows, and soon the Sabine court is in chaos. With his life in danger, Jai uses the opportunity to escape from the Dansk handmaiden Frida and a stolen hatchling. To escape with the Dansk handmaiden Frida and a stolen hatchling. Hunted at every turn, he must learn to cultivate magic and become a soulbound warrior if he has any chance of finding safety, seizing his destiny, and seeking his revenge. Dragons. It sounds interesting. I like dragons. It's probably not the highest on my list, but I would still really like to read it, and I do own it, so another physical TBR book. And then last, we have The Tropic of Serpents by Marie Brennan. This is book 2 in the Memoirs of Lady Trent series. I was very surprised by how much I liked the first one, and so I'm just going to continue on with that. I just put the second book on here because I only needed 26, but I think I'll probably try and continue reading all the way through. There's like 6 or 7, and they follow a woman who is very interested in studying dragons. She's not supposed to. It's kind of like a historical fantasy. So she's not supposed to have this interest in dragons, and we're kind of learning her story as she's telling it to us from the future. Or she's telling us her past. But she's older now. So that's all the books I want to read in 2026. Let me know if you've read any of these. What did you think? What is your top read for 2026? Hopefully I get to all of these. I'm only going to read 80 books in 2025, so 26 books is more than a quarter of what I'll probably read next year. But they're all really high on my priority list. They're all sequels or physical books that I've read, or just very, very hyped books that I want to get to. And I can't wait. It's going to be a good reading year, I think. Comment down below what your favorites are. Is there anything else I should put on this list? And thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.